Michael. It's wonderful to have Rav Michael and Rav Meir here with us. It's a privilege, second week in a row, to have you teaching us. And I really hope that Shavuot was a wonderful experience for all of you, and a time for both learning Torah and celebrating the giving of the Torah, the receiving of the Torah, as well as the finishing of the Sfirat Omer, a lot of which we discussed and learned in the last few months. Especially we had the Shabbaton in Copenhagen, where we had many hours to learn together, which was really fantastic. So I hope that you all enjoyed, and I look forward to the Shiur tonight. So, Rav Michael, will you be starting?
No, I think Rab Meir will start tonight.
Okay, so
Okay.
Olivia, you have the second, it's on the second page, please. And I will remove myself from the spotlight. So, Erev Tov to everyone. Thank you.
Shalom, and what's this now? Shalom and good evening to all of you. This is the one. Thank you. It's a bit not clear, or it is. Okay. I'll soon come to that text. Not yet. We'll start before, and I'll soon get to it. Okay. So again, good evening to all of you. Good evening to Rabbi Michael Melchior. Good evening to my sister, who I have to honor as well. In this coming week's Parashat Naso, we will read about the Nazir. We will call him Nazir. I don't know how to translate it in a good way, so we'll name it Nazir. Who is the Nazir? It's a man or a woman that took an oath, a neder, a promise to be a Nazir. What is being a Nazir? Someone who doesn't drink wine or any of the parts of the grapes he or she they don't eat. Neither should he or she become impure by that person, and they shouldn't cut their hair as well. In the text of the Torah, they are called holy, kadosh. They decide to do something which everyone doesn't have to do. For a certain time, they take upon themselves things to be forbidden that actually are not forbidden according to the Torah. In the plain text of the Torah, it's clear that being a Nazir is something positive. You have done something that is praiseworthy according to the Torah. You can even be called kadosh, holy, that you've taken upon yourself this very special promise for some time during a month or during a longer time. Therefore, the following discussion in the Talmud is surprising. And now I would like to go to the text that we have in front of us, and we will look at that together. Now I got lost to some way. Do you still hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we hear you perfectly. And you and everyone else, those who are not familiar with Zoom, you can click on the view above, and then you can choose whether to see the sheet, Rav Meir, or the participants. And you can also resize the page so it
Here
fits
I am.
you.
Okay.
And we can see you, and we can hear you and see you perfectly. Thank you.
Very, very well. Okay. So if there are two parts of text that we have in front of us, the first one is a part from the Talmud. Now, I'm not really doing what I should do, and that's not good. I should have taught you a Midrash. This is not really a Midrash, but it's very near being a Midrash. So if you are with me, if you don't close the Zoom, so let's have a look at the text. Shmuel said, Shmuel is one of the great teachers in the Talmud, let's say round about 250 years after the Common Era. He is in Babylonia, and he says the following: whoever sits in fast is called a sinner. What is sitting in a fast? That is, he decides to fast. It's kind of a religious choice that he makes. I want to fast. And then Shmuel says, no, 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 you are a sinner. And he, Shmuel, holds it in accordance with the following Tana, which is a Mishnah teacher, as it is taught, Rabbi Elazar HaKapar. Rabbi Elazar HaKapar is a great teacher, living not far from where I'm sitting now in the Galilee. He is further up on the Golan Heights. And he says the following: what the verse states with regard to a Nazir, and he will atone for him for that he sinned by the soul. This is a verse that we find in the Torah concerning the Nazir. He sinned by the soul, and that is very surprising. He didn't sin. He chose to be something that is kadosh, that is holy. So what does sinning really mean here? And the answer is that this very verse comes within a section within this portion of the Nazir, saying that if he suddenly, all of a sudden, became impure by someone that was dead, then he has to go through a certain process, and then he has to be atoned for what he has sinned, that he didn't take care not to be in a place where a dead person was found, a corpse or something like that. But Rabbi Elazar HaKapar and Shmuel as well, no, they say he sinned by being a Nazir, he sinned. They take the verse and they say it alludes not only to what it speaks about, that he had sinned because he thought all of a sudden was impure. He sinned by his choice to be a Nazir. How do they explain this? What's the sin? And he say the following. Now, what's the sin? With what soul did this Nazir sin? What happened here? Rather, by distress he caused himself when he abstained from wine. He abstained from wine. He didn't drink wine. He doesn't drink wine. He doesn't eat grapes even. Now, that his abstention from drinking wine, that is his sin, because we are not forbidden to drink wine. We shouldn't drink too much wine, which we find in many places, but drinking wine as such is allowed in the Torah. And they say that he forbade upon himself something that actually is allowed, that is his sin. And then he speaks about not only drinking wine, by fasting again and again as a religious step, a religious movement to fast. And they say this is also a sin. And if this who is distressed himself by abstaining only from wine is nevertheless called a sinner, then with regard to one who distressed himself by abstaining from each and every matter, he's fasting, he doesn't eat, and so on, all the more so should he be considered a sinner. The subject of their debate is fasting, not the fast days that we know during the year, but someone who takes upon himself a fast day as a religious step. And they say, no, this is sinning. How do you know it is sinning? Because the Nazir sins when he abstains from wine. That's one opinion. The second opinion in the Talmud is completely different. Conversely, Rabbi Elazar, not Rabbi Elazar HaKapar, but another Rabbi Elazar, Bar Pedat he is called, one who accepts a fast upon himself is called sacred. No, 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 no. He's not a sinner. He is holy. As it is stated again concerning the Nazir, he shall be sacred. He shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow long. Ah, no. Being a Nazir is to be holy, so to fast every now and then is also being holy. So they are on completely two different opinions, way away, each one from the other. The one says fasting and being a Nazir is a sin. The other one says no, fasting and being a Nazir is to be holy. Okay. Then there's a third teacher called Reish Lakish, and he sits in Eretz Israel, in Tiberias, not also far from here, and he says he is called pious. I'll return to Reish Lakish. We will leave him for the time being. So we have two very different opinions here. So how can we decide who is right and who is wrong? It's hard. Everyone has his opinion. The Talmud doesn't say that they discussed, so we can find an argument where we could say that we can understand through their argument whose opinion is stronger than the others. So can we decide anything here? Well, what can we do? We can look into the great work of Rambam, whose main work is to decide in all the different discussions in the Talmud. And then you can always you should ask, what's the basis of his decision? So let's read, and then I try to comment what he's saying. We will start again. So we move to the 12th century. We are now in Egypt, and Rambam sits near what today is Cairo, and he writes the following. A person might say, you see where I'm reading? Yes? No? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. A person might say, since envy, desire, the pursuit of honor, and the like are a wrong path and drive a person from the world, I shall separate from them to a very great degree and move away from them to the opposite extreme. Here, the Rambam Maimonides, he speaks about different traits of a person, and he speaks about very negative traits such as envy, desire for things that are forbidden to enjoy, and the pursuit of honor, that is very bad. And since it's like that is true, so I have an idea. Someone might say, I will leave this world altogether. How does he say? So let's continue. For example, he will not eat meat, nor drink wine, nor live in a pleasant home, nor wear fine clothing, but rather wear sackcloth and coarse wool and the like, just as the pagan priests do. He might allude to the Christian priests of his days, but I'm not sure. Anyhow, what does this person say? I look into the world. I see the interaction that I have with others, the human being living his life in interaction with others and enjoying this world, and that drives him to bad traits such as envy, desire, pursuit of honor. So perhaps the solution is to escape this world and its pleasures. No, says the Rambam. That is not the right way. So let's go back to the words of the Rambam where we were. So, and then he says, the Rambam continues, this, I'm on the text of the Rambam where we stopped. This too is a bad path, and it's forbidden to walk upon it. Whoever follows this path is called a sinner, as implied by the verse we said before, seeing the words of Shmuel in the Talmud, statement concerning a Nazir, and he shall make an atonement for him, for the Nazir, for his having sinned regarding his soul. Our sages declared, if a Nazir who abstained only from wine requires atonement, how much more so does one who abstains from everything? So if I would ask you, whose opinion did the Rambam take as the right opinion? And the answer is, of course, the opinion of Shmuel, not the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. Shmuel says, this is a sin, to sit fasting, to be a Nazir is a sin. And that is what we see here in the words of the Rambam. Now, let's continue with the Rambam. Therefore, says the Rambam, our sages directed man to abstain only from those things which the Torah denies him, and not to forbid himself permitted things by vows and oaths of abstention. So the Torah says you shouldn't eat chazir, you shouldn't eat milk and meat, and so on. Now that, of course, we can't eat. But to forbid something more, that is a sin. Thus, our sages stated, are not those things which the Torah has prohibited sufficient for you? This is a quotation not from what we saw the Talmud, but rather from the Talmud of Yerushalayim, the Jerusalem Talmud. Lo dayecha ma shascha lecha Torah. Is it not sufficient for? Is it not enough for you? What the Torah has forbidden, you are taking additional things to yourself. The general statement also refers to those who fast constantly. And now Rambam sort of broadens it and said, also those who fast constantly. They are not following a good path, for our sages have forbidden a man to mortify himself by fasting. Of all the above and their like, Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, directed and said, and now he quotes a verse that is very, very suitable for what we expect. And that's the words with which he finishes this piece. Do not be overly righteous. Do not be overly clever. Why make yourself desolate? No, no, no. You should live a normal life. Let's first of all try to understand what he says, and then try to understand how he came to this conclusion from the Talmudic debate. So, my dear friends, so now we leave the text of the Rambam, and we try to understand what he really said. And let's try to explain it in the following way. The human being living his life in interaction with others, enjoying this world, as we said beforehand, he shouldn't escape this world. Why not? The Nazir in the written Torah seems to be something which is an ideal. No, being a Nazir is a sin. It's the wrong way. And my friends, it's an example among many others where the oral law says differently than the plain meaning of the written law. And we are Jews of the oral law in the way it explains the written law. Because if I look into the text itself, if I listen on Shabbat, Yom Hashem, clearly to the reading of the Torah, I hear and understand that being a Nazir is an ideal, it's being Kadosh. But the oral law, as the Rambam understood it, is saying that this is negative. It's no good being a Nazir. It's to be a sinner. Why? Why is it sinning? What's the idea here to say such a thing? The foundation is, I think, the following. The foundation is the creation as such, life as such. That is the way the Creator created us, and he gave us a wonderful world. In the world I find envy, hatred, and so on and so on, again and again. And what should I do? And then we say, no, stay in this world, stay together with the others, educate yourself within the life of this world, not by escaping life and society. That is a kind of escapism. You should be natural human and not to be overly righteous, not to be overly clever. Why make yourself desolate, as the verse says in the end of the words of the Rambam? My friends, in everyday life, we see it in everyday life. We hear it on the radio, on the television. In literature, we find descriptions of life where we find envy and hatred, and desire, and all these things. Sometimes we feel that we would like to run away from all of it and live in the desert and to wear clothes that are not the clothes that we wear. Perhaps that's the way. And then the Rambam says, no. Mend yourself, repair society, love humanity, love this beautiful world as the Creator has made it and has given to us. So that's the idea, I would like to say. You could say, I say it in brackets, so according to the oral law, why is there such a portion about the Nazir? If it's so negative, so don't write it. And the answer is, I think I found it in one of the commentaries here on Rashi, Siftei Chachamim, and others have said it as well. Sometimes it's needed, just like we take perhaps sometimes a bitter medicine or something, which isn't so good to take, but sometimes it's needed. Sometimes a person might be a situation where his only solution is to do something which actually could be kind of a sin, but he has to do it. But it's not a way for all of us. It's not a way for the most of us in most times, because it's actually a sin. So it has been something very, very small, this portion actually. Now let's go back to the Talmud. So on what basis did Maimonides, did Rambam say, I choose the words of Shmuel, of Rabbi Elazar Kapar, and I don't agree with Rabbi Elazar, who says that it's being holy to sit and fast. It's being holy to be a Nazir. On what basis did he decide his decision? And it's interesting. I would say the following. That's what the commentators of the Rambam say. There is a third saying. If you have the in front of you, if you go back to the end of the Talmud piece, there's a third saying, and that is Reish Lakish. He says that he is pious, which is very positive. But my friend, who is pious? And that is actually a discussion between the commentators. You don't have to remember the names, Rashi and Tosfot. And one of them say that he is pious. That goes on the one who is like the Nazir. He is the one like the one who sits fasting. But there is one explanation which I can't go into now in this framework that fits with the text. Saint Ruben Reish Lakish says he is pious. He means the one who refrains from fasting, the one who refrains from escaping this world, the one who understands that being a Nazir and sit and fast and so on, he is a sinner. He is the one who is pious. Not only do we say that the one who fasts and so on, he is on a wrong path and he is sinning, but the one who doesn't choose this way, he refrains from this way of fasting and so on, he is really the pious man. And see, if we understand that Rambam understand these words of Reish Lakish as in this way, then his decision is correct, because two of the three opinions here say the same things. Only Rabbi Lazar, who is in the middle of this sandwich, he says that it's something very good. But Shmuel, Rabbi Lazar Kapar, and Reish Lakish in the end, all of them say that this is the wrong way. So as I'd like to end more or less my words, this is, as I said beforehand, it's a good example, and I can give you, Bezrat Hashem, many examples, how Torah Sheba'al Peh, how the oral law teaches us a way which is not according to the plain text of the Talmud. And we find something, I would say, very positive of saying yes to this world, of saying yes to the delights of this world, of saying yes to life, of saying yes to living in society. And I'd like to end also by quoting a few lines in the Talmud Yerushalmi, where they say, it sounds like an exaggeration, but they say, man will stand after 120 years in front of the great judge, God our creator, and he will be asked, why didn't you enjoy this world? Why didn't you eat sweet fruits? Why didn't you look at a nice view of green trees and mountains and valleys and rivers and so on? Why didn't you enjoy this world? And that's actually what we say here. God has given us a world to enjoy it, to see it as a fantastic creation. And in this creation to which we say, yes, we live, we educate, and we repair this world and ourselves as much as we can. That's my suggestion. My friends, you don't have to accept that, but that is what I wanted to suggest.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Reb
very much for
Meir.
listening.
And I think the unique circumstances of the Nordic Beit Midrash, with the beautiful views and nature and countries that we live in, give us the opportunity to follow this last passage from the Yerushalmi, and this idea that enjoying the world that Hashem created for us is what we were brought to do, and not to abstain. Rav Meir, if I may, I have a question that was
Please,
bothering me, or that I was
please.
thinking. When we think of, you said that the Rambam may be comparing to similar priests or monks or hermits in other traditions. But in all of those traditions, it's very clear that one of the basic things that we abstain from is from any sexuality or intimate relations. Whereas there's not even a discussion of that, even according to someone who is doing so, according to the Torah, according to what you read from the Psukim, that's not even an option. In other words, why is that? You said that sometimes we need to go to the extreme, but that is not even optional in terms of being a Nazir according to the Torah.
Yes, that's a good question. I just wanted to try to answer an obvious question. If I again say in brackets, we have portions. I don't have to mention them where our sages say this portion isn't relevant at all. And perhaps we could say the same thing here, but we don't have to say that, because there are cases where our sages says, in this case, I would say this is the right medicine, but there are very few. That's not the rule at all. So still, it has some meaning. That's what I try to say. But your question is good. That's all right. I don't know exactly what to say to you.
So, but just following up, what the whole idea here is that what we have in life, and we just to maybe close with with the Kohen Gadol, right, on Yom Kippur, who goes into the Holy of Holiest on the holiest day, and the one condition is that he's married, right, that he has a wife, that he is connected to this world, and that he's living in peace. And maybe that bridges over to our next shiur with Rav Michael, of what does it mean to live that type of life of peace in this world, blessed with peace from Hashem. So that maybe is a connecting piece, and we hand over. But Esther, sorry, just before we hand over, well, this is an open Beit Midrash, so Esther, please, you have your hand up. Bevakasha.
Yes. We have examples in Tanakh about those people who, from their birth, had to be Nazirim. Like Shmuel Hanavi, he had to be, I understood from all of his life. Then that very strong man, this who was in the time of Judges, Samson.
Yes.
Yes, and but if we think about this very strong man, he didn't maybe he didn't not maybe, but he didn't drink uh, um, wine, but he was drinking other alcohol. Plus, he was also falling in love. He had a little bit bad things with the women. He didn't have good muscle with the women, and in the end, unfortunately, he had very rough time because he fell in love. His parents wanted him to marry with a Jewish girl, but he seemed not to have some kind of muscle with the women. So, and there is also that he was enjoying with. He went somewhere. He was drinking and was having some time with prostitute. But the Nazir, I have understood that Nazir is not somebody who is not married. He or she can be married. He
Yes,
can
sure.
he can make for a certain period of time, and it can happen something like maybe the person went so far from Hashem that he or she have had to decide that now I have maybe gone too far or something, because it has been so specifically said there in Torah about it. And nowadays we don't have bet Hamikdash, so because the Nazirim have to bring sacrifices. So, but still in modern days, there was one in Israel, one man in our modern time. Now I don't remember his name. He had long hair, but he was making it neat, keeping it neat. And people might do it for a while. But the problem is that we cannot bring the sacrifices because, as you said, it is a sin. So one has to bring a sacrifice for it. So I don't also understand the fasting. Why Rambam was talking about the fasting? Because Hashem didn't give any restriction or say that and Nazirim have to fast. So where does this fasting come into the picture, or wearing sackcloth and stuff like that? All of the Nazirim in the Tanakh, what I have read, they were very strong personalities. And in this world, very much. So I'm asking, where this fasting issue came there? Maybe there was some examples about them.
Okay, thank you very much. And you had some very good ideas and questions. I would say let's take Shimshon for the first. And it's obvious, as you said yourself, that him being a kind of Nazir, our sages say that he wasn't a real Nazir, was a certain kind of Nazir, but it obviously didn't educate him, or as far as we can see, didn't make him a holy man. And as you said yourself, all kinds of things that are told about him. So it's true that he was kind of a Nazir, but as far as I can see, it might be an example that Nazir, being a Nazir, doesn't really help so much about who you are and what are the traits of yours. Shmuel is a harder question. That's true that he sort of there was a promise sort of by his mother about her son, and I think we have to find it see it as something extraordinary, and we don't. I really don't find during the two books of Shmuel that there's anything connected with him being a Nazir from the very moment in the beginning of the book. There's nothing mentioned that's not what makes Shmuel HaNavi being Shmuel HaNavi. I don't feel like that. So therefore, I think the Rambam, and I'll soon return to what you asked about the fast, doesn't have to see that Shmuel teaches us this way or this way. I would say there's another Shmuel, and that is Shmuel of the Talmud. The Shmuel of the Talmud that we quote in the beginning, not Shmuel HaNavi, he was dealing, and I'll answer your question about fast, he was dealing about fasting, not saying that the Nazir fasts, but rather to say that we can learn our question, which is a question, is it good to fast as a religious act? And he said no, because that resembles the sin of the Nazir. The Nazir, is a sinner, and so is the one fasting. And he sort of widens the debate, and so does the Rambam, and therefore we come to wearing clothes. And so not that these are the rules of the Nazir, but after they have stated that Nazir is a sinner, so we can say, here we see the idea, and then we can widen the discussion, and that is what they do. And finally, what you mentioned, there was a Nazir in Yerushalayim, you're right, the Nazir from Yerushalayim, and Rabbi David HaKohen, who was a pupil of Rav Kook, and that is again, I think, something very special, and we really don't meet such things anymore, as far as I can understand. But the words of Rambam we meet, who say that being a Nazir is actually a sin. But anyhow, thank you very much for your clever ideas and questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Reb Meir, and we'll pass on to Reb
Michael. I'm so sorry.
Bevakasha.
Okay. Well, there is some connection with what Rav Meir talked about and what I would like to talk about. This week's portion has so many very exciting topics, and Rav Meir was, and I welcome all those who have joined because they apparently heard the interesting things which Rav Meir was speaking about. So there are more people who have joined now, and I welcome them. And I want to say that it was difficult for me to choose out of all the different topics which Midrash to share with you, and I decided to go to the very end of our portion and maybe to connect into what Rav Meir talked about, that something we want to enjoy life, and it's something which is good to enjoy life. And what is more enjoyable, which mitzvah is more enjoyable than the last mitzvah which we have in our portion, or nearly the last mitzvah, which is the blessing of the Kohanim, of the priests. And this is a blessing which those who live in Chutz La'aretz, out of Israel, only know from the holidays, which we in Israel and most of Israel have every single day. And it's a blessing which I feel, it's true that it's a blessing which belongs to the Kohanim, but it's not it's not only belonging to the Kohanim, it's a blessing which belongs to every one of us, because it's the Kohanim who do the blessing. Of course, the blessing comes from God the Almighty, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the Kohanim, but we're all supposed to be blessed. So it's something which is which connects to every single person, and therefore this is a very important mitzvah, and it's a mitzvah which is so special, not least because it's, and this is maybe also the reason why it's only said so in only on holidays, only on Yom Tov, in outside Israel. It has to be done be'ahava, through love. That the Kohen blesses. This mitzvah has to be fulfilled with love. Now that's a very special. There's no other such mitzvah in the Torah. When we eat matzah, we don't eat matzah with. We have to have kavanah, we have to have intention, but we don't eat matzah with love, and we don't shake lulav and etrog with love. We don't. There's no other mitzvah where we say that this has to be done with love, and it has all kinds of halachic implementations, which I want to talk about, and I want to mention also that we know this bracha. It's used also often. We use it when we bless, when parents bless their children on Friday night, or at other special occasions. And when we give blessings, then this blessing is used. This text is used. This very, very important text. And I want to talk one more thing, which I was concerned with this idea of the love, which I thought about this morning. When we start our morning prayers, the first thing we say before we say the brachot in the morning, we say the bracha for studying Torah. Now, this is very interesting. Why do we say a bracha for studying Torah? That a lot can be said about these brachot, but one of the things which I think is important is what the Maharal says about this. The Maharal from Prague, from a medieval, very learned philosopher, he says that when we study Torah, one of the dangers is that we can love Torah too much. How can that be? He says that we can come to a situation where our pursuit for loving Torah, for religious life, can become so strong that we put aside the love of God and the love of fellow human beings. So much we can come to love the Torah. And therefore we can be very, very strict, and this has maybe a little to do with what Rav Meir was teaching now we can put ourselves, we can be so strict with one thing and the other thing that we disconnect from our families and disconnect from friends and disconnect from life, because we take upon ourselves all kinds of stringencies and out of love of Torah. And therefore, by the way, there's an interesting expression from one of the big Hasidic masters, the Kotzkai, the Kotzkai. He says that one of the problems of religious observance is that instead of worshiping God, we come to worship the Shulchan Aruch. Jewish, we worship the law, the Torah, instead of worshiping God. We should, of course, love the Torah. So therefore, they say, we start the day, before we start studying Torah, we start by saying the bracha. What do we say in this bracha? What do we say? We say in this bracha, we say, we start off saying, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. That God has given us the mitzvah of being occupied with studying Torah, and immediately after that we say, והרבנה השם אלוקינו את דברי תורתך בפינו ובפי עמך בית ישראל. That please make the words of your Torah sweet in our mouths, and with this sweetness this should be for us and for future generations, so that the Torah becomes sweet. It doesn't become purpose, it becomes something which can connect us to God and to fellow human beings, so that the Torah becomes sweet. And then immediately after we say the bracha for the Torah, we say the Birkat Kohanim, the bracha which we read in the Torah now in this portion. Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, the bracha which has to be said in love, and that it's peculiar. Why do we say this sentence out of all other sentences? Because this is chosen, that we say this priestly blessing. We say this because we want to stress that we connect the learning of Torah with also learning with practicing love, and with what it is concluded with, which is in peace. And one of the interesting things is that one of the halachic implications of this is that a Kohen who is in dispute with members of the community, he is not allowed to go up and bless the people. The Kohen he can't perform the mitzvah with love, because he's in dispute with the community. So therefore, there is a problem with his bracha, and therefore he cannot perform this mitzvah. It has halachic implementations. It's not just an idea, a principle, but it has halachic implementations. And it shows you how the Torah needs in general to be taught, also not only for Kohanim, but also rabbis and so on should try to be in unity with the community. And let's now see the text. Please, Olivier. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the text is it's just the text of the priestly blessing, which I believe that you know, but it ends with Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. That may the Lord lift or turn his face towards you and give you peace. And this text, which ends that God shows favor to you and grant you peace, then opens for the Midrash to speak, to give so many Midrashim of the importance of peace in the world. And I would love to just, to sit for the next 4 or 5 hours and go through with you all the importance of which the Midrash gives, how essential peace is for Jewish thinking through the Midrash, just on this ending of the priestly, of the Kohanit, of the priestly blessing. But the very beginning of the Midrash Rabbah on all the whole series is this what we have here in front of you. It says the following: Davar acher, another matter, may the Lord show favor. Favor is panav. May he show his face upon you, towards you, and grant you peace. And the Midrash says the following: one who greets his counterpart face to face is not comparable to one who greets him from the side. Rather, may the Lord show his face, turn his face to you, just as it says, I will turn paniti. Paniti is the face, the word to turn. It's an expression from Leviticus. I will turn to you and make you fruitful, and grant you peace, peace upon your arrival, peace upon your departure, peace with every human being, with every person. So what does this Midrash say? This Midrash it's apparently very, very simple. It says that when you greet another person, then you can greet him, first of all, you should say shalom. Shalom, which is also God's name. But you shouldn't just, you can say shalom, how are you, or whatever, and just throw something out. But you can also show your face. You can show a smiling face, just as it says in Pirkei Avot, right? הווה מקבל כל האדם בסבר פנים יפות. You should accept every other person in a beautiful way, with giving, and Rabbi Ishmael says, בסבר פנים smechot. You should have a smile on your face. He should see your face. Now, the word in Hebrew for face is panim. Panim is not only the face, but it's also seeing what is inside. That you really look at this person, that you look at the need of the other person, that he really sees that you care about him. And this is how God that we ask that God shows His face towards you, that we see that God Himself, k'viachol, that He shows that His face towards us, that we feel God's presence, and in this way we feel how much uh, God means in our life, and in this way we can accept every other human being, not just by, okay, hello, how are you, shalom, and this, but really that we show the face, and this can change a whole existence of other people, that they see that you really care about them. I talked this week in a very big audience we had with 700 people. I talked to them about the meeting of Yaakov and Esav, and one of the things which was so important in that meeting was that the word panim, the word face, appears eight times in that chapter. And Yaakov was so afraid, he was sure that Esav was coming to kill him, until he really saw his face, and he saw inside Esav. And then when he really saw his face, he understood that he had read the map totally wrong. He didn't understand. That it was a new situation, that this was not the Esav which was once upon a time who was out to kill him, but this was the new Esav, and that he could then embrace him and kiss him and hug him, and they could cry together. This was a new Esav. But that was only when he could look him into his face, into his inside, and really feel him. And I think that if we can meet other people in this way, this is the true blessing of, then we can make peace with other people, and we can make peace with another side, and we can overcome our fears by doing this. This is the blessing of the Kohanim, and this is the blessing which is the blessing of peace, which is the highest of all blessings human beings can have. And this is how God can bless humanity, which we end our parsha with. So this is really what I wanted to share with you, and this is the way we should study Torah, with ahava, and that's why we immediately after we say the bracha of the Torah in the morning, we immediately after say Yivarcha Hashem v'yishmerecha, and we say Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, that we immediately after the Birkat Torah say this Birkat Kohanim. So this is what I wanted to share with you. If you have any comments or questions, the time is up, but
Thank you very much, Rav Michael. And to connect, like you said at the beginning, from Rav Meir's Shiur to yours, it really shows how much going out and being a part of the world and meeting, and not only that, whatever you learn inside the books is in order to take it outside to meet, and also not to put ourselves in a cave, And we know how that ended with some of our Talmidei Chachamim, some of our scholars. But really to go out and to bring that shalom, because it's the blessing, but it's also how we greet others with the shalom that we receive through learning the Torah. We take it outwards as well. So these two shiurim, really thank you both. They complement one for not only in learning, but how we approach the learning of Torah itself as a vessel to then take it outside and meet others, and to bring Hashem's presence into this world. So thank you both for this deep teaching, which should be day to day, just as learning Torah should be day to day for us. If there's any comments from anyone, you're welcome. I'll just mention, Rav Michael, that it's a bit scary as a Kohen, because it's not always your fault. If someone is angry with you, you can do your best, and then someone is upset. And sometimes, especially in a position as a community leader, for example, there are decisions that you make that don't make it so easy all of the time, and to keep believing in shalom. But then you can, as a community rabbi, you can say, okay, I'm doing my best. But then when you have to bless the people the next morning, and someone's angry with you and you can't, then that becomes quite challenging. But as you said, we're all Kohanim in that sense, and have this. But it's challenging between that vision and the practicality of it, which the halakha demands, as you said. But we had Tikva. Did you want to comment?
No, I just want to say that it's quite very wonderful teaching, Torah teaching, and well, amazing. I just want to say thank you, and yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, this is why I'm happy that I'm not a Kohen, Moshe David. On the other hand, I had to take all the funerals, which you didn't have to take. So
that could be a shiur in itself for sure. And why is it that the Kohen? It's very interesting also that it in my, I think it connects very much to that there being a place of shalom, and in order to keep it whole, that you don't deal with the death in the same manner that other rabbis do and must. But in Malmö, Rav Michael, it's a big issue because there are already 2 rabbis in a row who are Kohanim, so they don't care anymore. They said, whatever happens, just don't bring a Kohen to us. So, because it's a big deal, because that is definitely necessary. But thank you all. We're past our time. And thank you, Rav Michael. You started late and you kept to the time. Thank you all. And Bezrat Hashem, see you all next week. And thank you once again to Rav Meir and Rav Michael, and these 2 very different ideas that connect together in the parasha through these 2 shiurim that you gave us tonight. So thank you, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Thank you also for the comments, which are very encouraging. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, Laila Tov to everyone.